Hey, good day, YouTube. Thanks for coming back to the channel, checking us out. So, this video is going to be about something that I brought up probably about a month ago or more, probably before my trip back down south. I didn't get a chance to catch up on yet, but I did a video where I was discussing meat production and meal planning, and that we had developed a spreadsheet, and Rebel Solutions kept beating me up about it until finally I decided I need to get around to doing it. But it's not nothing earth-shattering, but it does provide some insight that maybe everybody would take note of. I think if you went through and studied your meal habits or meal planning and what it would take to feed your crew, such as it is. So we just developed a spreadsheet. Actually, we didn't develop it. I believe my wife copied it off somebody else and just modified it slightly for a couple of different things. But just looking at how much meat production we would have to go through in a year to feed, obviously, a family of 5. So we got the different types of meat, left-hand column, servings, lunch, meals, amount of a serving, quantity-wise, breaking down pounds per person, 5 times 5. It's all on an Excel spreadsheet, so it does the math for you. And it gives you pounds per year. You figure out the average weight of your animals, the amount of meat production that size animal gives. It gives you the number of head of animals that you need to raise to meet that requirement. So in particular, let's look at a couple here. Let's look at chicken, because in general, we eat a lot of chicken as Americans overall. So we'll highlight that one. Let's highlight beef, and let's go with eggs. And just for our purposes, we sat down. My wife asked me a bunch of questions about how much do you think we eat of this, and trying to account for every single meal. Obviously, right now, we don't provide our own meat. Most people don't. Even people that farm don't provide all their own meat. So, but this is trying to look at that in that perspective of if you had to, how much do we eat? So breaking it down, doing the math. And here you can see the number of servings that we've broken it down. A little bit over on the breakfast, over the 365, and I think that has to do with more of having breakfast for dinner, having eggs and bacon or whatever for dinner instead of a regular dinner, stuff like that, or lunch, brunch, whatever. But beef, 52. We don't eat a ton of beef. If we accounted for some jerky, about how many servings would it be if a serving was, here you can see, a quarter of a pound, 39 pounds a person, times 5. It's 195 pounds of beef needed per year, based upon 1,000-pound head of beef, about almost half a beef after it's processed, that we would need to meet this requirement. Everybody's gonna be a little different. Some people eat a lot of steak. Some people eat a lot of prime. If you wanted prime rib and everything else, you'd probably go for a whole beef for your family. But let's look down here at chicken. Again, servings per person. How many lunches do you figure you have? Chicken, fried chicken, chicken sandwiches, breast of chicken, whatever. So breaking that down, trying to just get an estimate, really thinking about it. Again, quarter pound being a serving comes out to about 64.25 pounds for us. Times 5, 320 pounds of chicken, 321 pounds of chicken a year for our family of 5. And chicken's probably, we eat more than anything else. I think that's broken, and you can see that in the math here. Compared to everything else, it's definitely what we decided is what we eat most of in a year. We eat more chicken than anything else. And chicken is fairly popular for most people. That comes out to 320 pounds, 21 pounds. It's 107 chickens. If you go off of a 5-pound chicken and it's producing 3 pounds of meat, that's what this is based off of. 107 chickens. And you think about it, like, that sounds like a lot. And then you think about, well, how many times, we get chicken from the store and cook it ourselves, but how many times do we go and, get KFC or go to a restaurant and have chicken and things like that? And it adds up quite significantly. And the numbers probably aren't too far off of reality if you accounted for all your family and what they eat. It's a lot of animals. Then you look at eggs, and this I was like, there's no way. Really? You think we eat that many eggs? I was kind of baffled. But 300 servings of breakfast, which is not eggs you're not having eggs every day. You're not having, 300 servings. So that's, the what, 352 is, a full year. So there's lots of gaps in there, and there's, we're breaking this down that a serving is 2 eggs. So this does math a little differently. It's not by pound, it's by the number of eggs. Occasionally for lunch or dinner you'll have eggs you'll use for meals. And then there's things like cakes and stuff that you use eggs that are really hard to factor in here. But it comes out to about 336 per person, we figured. And that's 672 eggs per person when you use that a serving is 2 eggs. Times 5, 3,360 eggs. It's 25 hens it would take to produce that many eggs in a year. I don't think we've ever had 25 hens laying at the same time. I think we've been close to 20, but to have 25 hens producing year round would be quite an accomplishment, I think. But 3,360 eggs. Put that in your mind about, okay, is that far from reality? If you had no other source of food to eat, you don't have the ability to purchase stuff or whatnot, especially protein sources, eggs is the easiest backup probably for just about anybody. But when you look at what the requirement is, if we maintain our current, obviously, intake and food in a situation where things start going bad, it's going to be tough to maintain these numbers of production because of feed availability and things like that, and just the time to manage all this when everything else is going on. But on the flip side of that is the goal of trying to be able to produce as much as you can for yourself. So I guess you would say the right hand corner column is, the head per year, if you had to raise it on your own, what you would be producing. And we tried to account for all different types of meat to have variety, obviously. We really could balance out some of the chicken with turkeys. Turkeys produce eggs too. That number could be augmented with turkey eggs as well. They're definitely a different consistency and taste, but to replace them in meals and stuff would not be a stretch at all. So you have some things you can balance out if you are having a struggle to meet the end goals. Really, the things that we had down here, the things that we eat, but we know we can't raise. Obviously, I'm not going to be able to raise fish and shrimp. I don't want to hear it about, we can have our own aquaponics with, what's that fish? Tilapia. That's real popular. That's just not happening here. I know people can do it. It's outside of our scope of ability, this period. But you want to account for, this is other meat sources that we regularly eat in a year, at least somewhat. I mean, granted, we only got crab down to basically 2 dinners per year. We figured that we have some crab, because we have access to some crab. Um, but really, those are things that are probably going to go away as meat sources potentially, especially the crab and shrimp. Fish, there's fishing avenues you could get to have that meat source, but fish would be one that would probably go away faster than anything else with your other ground animals up there. We don't have the ability to produce fish, so that's kind of why it's in a different area. Um, but just a breakdown of the sheet, kind of something to get everybody to think about, and really just when you put it all out there for a full year, like, okay, half a beef, 9 pigs, 9 1/4 pigs, third of a lamb, and we could bump that number. You figure if you're going to be raising it, it's going to be a full lamb. You're not just going to butcher it, but that gives you an idea that you could use half a lamb to trade off with, or half a beef to trade, or go in with somebody on a party to raise a full head of beef and split it. 10 rabbits, which is easy, right? No challenge to raise 10 rabbits, really. 12 turkeys, almost 13 basically, which is not, again, a terribly high number. Fairly easy to accomplish. Freeze it, can it, whatever you do. But the chickens, 107 chickens to meet what we see as our current chicken intake really stuck out, along with the eggs. Like, we eat a lot of chicken and eggs. And I think that's pretty apparent. But would we be able to maintain some of those numbers? And could we balance them off if we actually had to with other things to more so maintain production across the board, etc.? If you had to change your protein sources or whatever. But it gives you your starting point, what you think you have. What would we need to raise? We don't raise a head of beef right now. So we don't even have access to our own. We buy outside sources. But we figure we probably use a half, so if we needed to raise our own, there's our minimum to meet what we see as a goal, or what we see as a need. So that's just a meal planning spreadsheet that we had developed, or gotten from, and then filled in and kind of given the once over on what we needed to get as needed moving forward. There's many ways you can do it, but most people just haven't put in the thought behind it, like how many actual animals do I, breaking down to animals, not just servings. Servings makes it seem, so, they talk about the, deck of cards. I think that's what we went off of, idea of that serving weight, but it adds up, obviously, to quite a few animals. And again, this is for a family of 5, so bigger, smaller families going to be different. Your lifestyle, if you're not a big variety, some people are just kind of beef and chicken people, and that's it. You're going to have significantly higher numbers when you think about, a serving, and those serving sizes are really probably on the small side. They're not full big servings like what we think of when we think of some of the meals we eat. There's times where we can go through half a chicken no problem in a sitting, or full chicken, or like Thanksgiving, a full turkey. Turkey, you get Thanksgiving, Christmas, there's 2 turkeys. Easter, there's a full ham, or lamb, and you've already ate into these numbers pretty fast when you talk about some of these holiday events and stuff like that. So something to think about, people. Just going further into your planning for your situation, what you're looking for. If you're looking to bug out, bug in, prep, homestead, whatever, just thinking about those needs and what it takes to support them in the long run is important. It's a reality check. Supporting 25 hens that's a lot of hens producing over full year too. So then you have to replace them to keep egg production going. If you're really going to use that many eggs, you're going to have to back that off a little bit. But it is a quick, easy source of protein as long as you can maintain it uh, for your needs. So I don't know. Have any questions? Put them in the comments. We can discuss this further. Um, Anybody else has any good examples of planning spreadsheet similar would be useful, but definitely something to take into consideration if you are at all thinking about any type of homesteading, being prepared for not being able of having to provide for your own sources of food. Things like this and garden calculators are all useful, and definitely at least do some basic review of your meal needs, because you are able to purchase a lot more than you can really provide for yourself 9 times out of 10, um, for sure. So what if you can produce something and use that to trade with somebody else will help you beneficially in the long run. All right, so quick, no, not too quick, I guess, but a video. Please discuss, comment, and we'll see you later. Live free.